Hello everyone, this is Rosemary, and this is going to be the tutorial for the 5 cards and 5 envelope journal. When I first started the first one, I just did it just to see what people's reaction, and some people understood the ideas and some didn't, depending on their level of journal making, paper crafting. So this is going to be the tutorial. I had a lot of questions about the first card with the envelope, which many people saw it finished, this card opened like this, and I am going to give you the directions on how to do it more specifically. Okay, so this card, here is the card. I picked this one. It's not a door. I usually love to use doors. Peace to you and those you love, which I think is very appropriate this time of the year. So, and what I do is this. This is an envelope, and this envelope, as you can see, this was an envelope that we received. It's a used envelope, not a card. And this envelope doesn't fit, which is okay. That doesn't matter. Just get a nice, sturdy, if it's going to be the beginning of your, the front of your signature, you want a nice, sturdy envelope, and you can tell just by the feel of them. So here we go. What I'm going to do, and let's hope my glue is cooperating, is here's the front of the envelope. As you can see the opening, I'm going to glue this flap. Come on, glue. Let's do it. And I like liquid glue. It's whatever your preference is. It's just what I got used to using, and that's what I use. So I glue the flap. Now, here's the wet glue. You can see it. And I'm going to put it evenly to the back. So here's the front of the envelope. This is the front of the card. And as you can see, it doesn't matter to me that one's bigger than the other. All I want is that you notice the sides are equidistant. So I'm going to open it, and there you see the flap. And it's going to be glued. So, what's next? Well, I have a piece of paper, and I measured it to the cards, to the size of the back of the card. All this writing, this is very unattractive. You definitely don't want it. And what I'm going to do is I cut it to the measurements. By the way, when you're working with this, decide what size cards you want to use. I use 8.5 by about 8.5 tall, 5.5 wide. Whatever your size is going to be, you might have to trim some of your cards, discard some of your cards, whatever the size. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, again, come on, glue. Nothing like waiting for glue to stop, right? Come out. And I'm going to put glue around the back of, especially around the edges. And I like my glue to kind of come out slow because, and you know, like I said, I know some people like ATCs. And now that I have enough glue, I'm going to cover this paper. I told everybody I was filming except my husband. So, our door needs oil. I do not live in a haunted home. Okay, and as you can see, I glued it down. Looking nicer, isn't it? Well, you're going to do the same thing on this. This I'm not prepared for, but you measure your envelope, follow the same process. Now I'm going to be showing you a couple things you can do with your envelopes later on in this video. Now you open the card, And I have another piece that is going to be like this. And I'm going to do the same thing I did to the back. Now, and this is just random paper I have. So this is a wonderful way of using random paper. I want a pocket right here. Now my pockets, this happened to be a piece of scrap paper, and what I did was I scored. It was big enough to score right here. So 1/2 inch score, 1/2 inch score. You notice I like it here. I don't want it smaller. So what am I going to do? Well, one of the things I do with my scrap paper is I cut them into inch strips, and I score them down the middle. So you have 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. And what I'm going to do is, let's move all my cards. I'm going to measure this, which is approximately 4 3/4. So this is what I'm going to be calling a hinge. Oops, I know you can't see it, but okay. So I cut it. There it is. And I'm going to fold it like this. Put some glue. And I brought everything except my small scissors, which, yes, I know you probably, those of you do, are going to cut a little bit from this. But due to camera issues, and I am going to put a hinge there. Now, I like to put hinges. It's really worth the time, especially when you are going to maybe put 2 or 3 tags. You're going to put some photos, and so you see the hinge there in action. And what I'm going to do then, I'm going to glue this big sheet there. I'm going to glue the pocket down, and it is ready. Now, right here on this side, there is a quote down at the bottom. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. And I decided I'm just going to leave this plain. This is going to be plain. If it bothers you, go ahead, get some more paper and cover it up. So don't be afraid to leave papers alone. You have a lot of design going on here. And then you could put a picture, you can journal on there, whatever works for you. So that is how I do that first page. And that is how this one was made. This is one technique. Now, there you see the pocket and the blank page. Now, here is the envelope. The envelope has been covered just with one big sheet of paper, like I did there. Here's that one that I glued down. Let's look at it here. Same one. Now I glued this paper here. This is going to be like the front and the back. And here, this is another pocket made from a Christmas card. This is also made from a Christmas card index card. Now, this is going to be a pocket, and I will show you later. As you can see, it's a little bit too big, and I need to trim it, but this is how and probably make it a little bit thinner. So, this is how I make those. Now, this now looks like a journal page. And this is what you're going to be treating your cards like. They're going to be ready to be journal pages. And this is now halfway done, but I wanted you to see I glued the flap, then I covered it with a piece of paper. Here, this one has not been glued, and then I put a pocket. You notice, make sure it's worth having hinges on there, either false ones that you make or part of the scrap paper. It just depends. And there you have it ready. So that's one technique for using your Christmas cards. Okay, here's another technique. I like to do this with long, thin cards. And what I do is I am going to make this into a 2-tuck card. So what you're going to see right here is I get my hinges out and I'm going to glue one. You see how I like this picture, so I'm going to open it here, and you see one hinge has been glued to the bottom, and all it needs is the one on top. Now I have one already, and it's already in here, and I'm going to glue it like this, and I will show you what I'm going to do with it, and then on the other side I'm going to do the same thing. So you're going to glue it, and again the measure, you measure it. Oh, this is about a little bit under 4. So, and I'm going to glue it on the top. I thought I had it sideways, but okay. So, there we go. I'm going to glue it like this at the very top. Now you might be wondering, what are you going to do with that? Well, I am then going to glue. This one I usually get a larger sheet of paper, 8.5. See, 8.5 by 5. This is actually a little bit bigger. And I'm going to then, this becomes a pocket. And actually I have to trim this to be 5.5, which is my width of my journal, 8.5 by 5.5. And I'm going to glue them down like this. Now, before I get going much further, you have your cards, but you don't always have to have your cards straight. One of the things I like to do is, especially if you do it that way, all your designs are going to be on the front and all the plain ones are going to be on the back. And to add a little bit of variety, like I did in this card, I am going to turn it kind of, see, this is the inside of the card, and I'm going to fold it like this, and there you see the outside, and I'm going to glue it like this. Okay, so when you glue, then you only put the glue on the hinges. And make sure you push and get it nice and centered, and there you go. Now, this is what I do on this side, and you're wondering, oh my, but what are you going to do with this? Well, this is where I might get another sheet of colored paper. I might do napkin decoupage. That's what I did with the Nutcracker napkin decoupage. It just depends. I even like this little quote that goes with this. On Santa's list of who's been nice, your name appears not once but twice. So this, you know, don't be afraid to leave the little sentiments inside of them so that something could be put there and something can be put on the top. Now, let me get another piece of this paper, and like I said, I know I like this 8.5 by 5.5. It just is easier to work with cards that way. And on the back, I didn't put the hinge in here, but you know, another hinge goes there. I'm just going to glue down the bottom so that people can see. And again, center it. Doesn't that look pretty? And you're wondering, oh, but you didn't put the hinge in. Yeah, well, guess what? It will be open. I didn't glue down this side. I haven't done that gluing yet, so I can still add the hinge. When you have them just right, you can put a little bead of glue. You see right in here it's open. Just get a little bead of glue, or maybe you can do it at the same time. I just kind of do that because it's easier for me to center them and not worry about glue all over the place first on this. So there you see, and this has now become a giant pocket, and you can put envelopes sideways like this. I hope you can get I'm getting everything on. You can play with this quite a bit. So this is the second design. Now I'm going to be showing you a few of these and how I decorate this side right here. Now you have this blank side right up here that is blank, and you have this that is blank. So it's going to be up to you what you want to use. Now I'm going to be showing you some of my ideas a little bit further in. So this is design number 2 on what you can do with your Christmas cards. Okay. The third thing I do, especially with these shapes, I look for interesting cards. Cards that just make me happy, and I found this stash of these cards. Now, I decided I'm not going to mess with this one at all. I love this front. But look at the back. I don't want that on the back. So I'm going to square it. So don't be afraid to cut the back of your cards. And once you square it, you have a nice looking card. And what I did with this, may you celebrate with all the gifts this season brings. What I did with this is I just put a pocket down here because I just love the little bear and the sentiment. So don't be afraid of doing that. On this, on one of these, I made it into a pocket. In other words, I glued an L and it became a side-loading pocket. I've also put like notebook paper or some kind of lined paper where you could journal. So this is, like I said, for these shaped ones, just go ahead and you can change the shape of your cards by just kind of cutting them up, which is what I did. All right, now 5 envelopes. With the envelopes, one of the most obvious things is here's a really beautiful envelope. I like it very much. Sometimes you find them and sometimes you don't. What I'm simply going to do, you notice the flap has been put in. So I put it inside. If you want to glue it, go ahead. Now then it's going to be folded. You have to decide, do you want it, doesn't have to be folded in half, does not, or you can fold it in half and just leave it as a small little page, and the back becomes a pocket. You can also, and I don't do this very often because I glue it down and put 2 slits there. I don't do that as often because I usually make side-loading pockets. So with this, see, you find a pretty envelope and fold it in half. And I think I'm going to do it just a little bit off, not just exactly in the middle, but like this. And then you can just treat it like a journal page. So that's what you can do with some of these. All right? So that's one style for envelopes. This second one, and I started thinking about this because I had all these red envelopes. What are you going to do with those? Okay, so this is what I did. And these don't have very long flaps, so they kind of came out. So I put one flap inside of the other. See, kind of, here's the flap. It's inside like that. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you, putting the flaps, this is really a messy job. This is the part I don't really like. So be careful on this one because you can get glue all over the place quite easily. So put glue on the flap. All right. And then open it up and very carefully, trying to get it just right in there, which wasn't too bad this time. And you get it in there, fold it, make sure it's nice and comfortable so they can fold, and there you go. You have it. And at this point, it's covering it, which is going to allow you a little bit of flexibility. So now, I'm going to put some glue on this other side. And now they're closed. Okay, so what are you going to do with it now? This is what I like to do. I like to make it kind of like that other one with the Santa, that long thin one. So what I like to do is I like to make pockets like this, covering it up. So let me get my scoreboard here, so please bear with me. And I'm going to score this maybe about 1/2 inch. And again, please bear with me. I know I'm doing a little bit off, but just, and you can see my score. And I'm going to put it like right there. And you notice, because this is scrap paper, I only have enough for the top that I scored. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get another hinge. And like I said, I usually have a box of them. This one is not perfectly squared, so I fold them and I go ahead and say, okay, this is about a little under 3 inches. Get my cutter, 3 inches. And sometimes I like to cut them and then fold them. So, and you notice I'm a little bit under 3 inches because it is easier to have it a little bit smaller than a little bit bigger. And so I have my fold, and I'm going to put glue on one of the hinges. You know the drill by now. So, you know, like I said, not all papers are going to be, this is how I use up Christmas scrap paper, because I hate to just throw it away, because I guess that's why I do junk journals. I just have to use up everything. And you glue it like this. So I have my 2 hinges, and a lot of people are saying, ooh, this really doesn't match with that red. That's true. So I have another piece here, another piece of scrap paper, and this is where you get to do some decision making. I like my pockets to be in the inside, and then glue it. And there you see. In other words, I'm going to be hiding most of the red. I like to do them that way. Some people like to have their pocket on the outside and like this. But before I go through that, I need to do a little bit of trimming, and this one looks like Oh, let's see, how much should be trimmed? Oh, let's trim about 3/4 of an inch. And I'm usually much better about my measurements, but due to time factors, And one of the things, I could have gone a little smaller. So I'm going to glue this. And this was just paper. I had a paper stack that, you know, you go, oh, when you're in the heat of the moment, you buy this paper. Next, it starts sitting in your stash, and you go, why in the world did I order it? Why did I buy it? Well, this is when you get to use it and to create beautiful things. And I'm going to put it right there. Now, here is my pocket right there. I'm gluing the let me go ahead, and when it's something I'm pretty sure about like this, then I run a bead of glue down this. See where I put the glue? There, and on this side. Now, and you have a side-loading pocket. So, double check that it moved a little bit on me. So I'm making sure. This is why I like liquid glue, because it allows you a little bit of flexibility. Now some of you caught that this is a little bit too long. I'm probably going to go back and retrim it right there, but because of time. Now, this is starting to look like a journal page. This sheet, I can leave it by itself or wait until I put all the pages together. So this is what I do on this side. On this side, I can do the same technique. You might say to yourself, but they're going to look the same. Well, I'm going to show you something. Oops. Not when you have, this paper ought to look familiar by now. And then I just am going to put a thinner pocket. See a little thinner pocket? And it will look a little bit different. So at this point, I can have my little tuck spot right there, or I can move it to this other side. And it's the same thing. Now this is a different, I have enough to score both sides and glue it, just like I did before. So this is what I like to do with my envelopes. You will see this is a nice blank one that you can do something, and this is nice and blank that you have two fronts that you can decorate. So those are the three things I do with cards. Now this is a journal that I started. It's going to be 2 signatures. The last one I showed you was just 1 signature. And when you're working with cards and pockets, don't go more than 8 to 10 pages per signature, because a signature will get too bulky. So here I'm just going to show you, this is in progress, but you already see that, and this is the back of the envelope here. It's like the dog one, but just by changing paper. This is just one of those fancy envelopes. My ugly sweater. This is like that second one I made, and right there I decided I'm just gonna maybe leave it alone. I think this one is I'm not going to make it a tuck spot, or maybe I will, who knows. But that's one of those thin ones, which on the other side, well, this is a different kind, but anyway, I could treat it like card number 2. I also I'm always a memo pad kind of person, and I always look for Christmas memos. This is like the pocket for card number 3, and I'm going to see, is it, nope, I just use that same technique that I did with card number 2, or the envelope, excuse me. Now, sometimes when I have a big sheet of paper with an 8.5 by 5.5, I put borders. Here's that card. Now, this is what I talked to you about. You notice it's being braced by the back of that red envelope. Now I can make a decision. I can glue it down right here and it becomes a pocket like that, where I can put pictures, I can put other tags, or I can leave it as a page. So, and this is one of the envelopes. The envelope hasn't been it doesn't have any treatment yet. I haven't decided. And again, so in this first signature, we're seeing 3 envelopes. How many cards do I have? 1, 2, 3 cards, 3 envelopes. Oh, have you seen these where you can put a photo? I love these. All right, so again, this is treated the same way I did with card number 1. And I didn't even cover it because it just lent itself so well. So when you put the card, look at the flaps there. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. So you can see, here's the back of the envelope right there. And this is where it's at. So that's card number 1. Here's card number 2. This is where I told you, turn the cards sideways. That way you have design. I don't know if I like that stripe. Might be covered. Don't know yet. At the time I thought it was nice. I look at it now and kind of go yuck. And again, I don't know. This is going to be covered. This is like card number 2, those long thin ones, where I'm going to put some hinges and probably make it into a side-loading pocket. I might even leave it like that, which is it's just kind of interesting. This is okay, so let's see. Yeah, I glued that down, I believe. Just trying to figure out, what did I do? Yeah, that was my vision here. Make it into a pocket. This is an envelope that I just covered and just folded it in half. Here are the red ones that I just showed you. Now, this is envelope card number 2, excuse me. This is what I liked. I knew I was going to put these Nutcracker napkin decoupage. I didn't want the sentiment, so I put a snowflake underneath that. So you can decorate it. And my original, I had a pocket right here. Kind of like it like this right now. Because I don't want it covered. It kind of allows you for some journaling or some picture. Here is the side loading, and here is the back of it. So you can see it like that. And this is the center. Let me show you. Let me take this out. Here it is. All totally, this is card number 2. And as you can see, we've covered it up. It looks just like a regular journaling page with 2 pockets. This is, you see these long white rectangles? This is why I like to put little borders around the edges. It smooths it out, gives it some fun. And here's the envelopes. And like I said, I knew I wanted this paper, I wanted the whole sled. That's why I knew it was going to be small like that, because I wanted it with Santa Claus. So we have 3 cards and 3 envelopes on this signature. So, like I did before, I will complete this journal, and hopefully I have given you more specific directions than I did the first time. First time I just thought, oh, this is cool. This is what you can do with your envelopes. See this side-loading pocket? It is very similar to what we did with this. You can see this is where the nutcrackers were decoupaged on. There you see this color. I put another piece of paper on here. I would probably put borders on this. Same thing here. It just depends what I want to do with it in the journal. So this is card number 2. And they look what I do with the envelopes and what I did with this are very, very similar. Talked about just folding envelopes. Talked about looking for novelty kind of cards and then squaring them in the back. We talked about this is where you glue the envelope to the back. And they don't always have to go in the front. They can go throughout your journal. I could put this in the middle if I wanted to, and it would work just fine. So again, that is my tutorial on what you can do with 5 cards, and 5 envelopes. It's basically now, I should probably abbreviate, 3 cards and 3 envelopes per signature. But so this is a fun way to make a beautiful Christmas journal, actually any kind of journal, and you can get an idea. So I will be showing the finished product of this journal. So again, thank you for watching, and I hope you understand the directions a little bit better. Thank you.